This is the second podcast in a two-part series from the Office for National Statistics looking at health expectancies. If you would like a transcript of this podcast, email info@ons.gov.uk.
In the first podcast in this series, we described how health expectancies provide a dimension of quality to estimates of life expectancy. This chart shows how life and health expectancies change as we age. In this podcast, we will focus on disability-free life expectancy, the length of time that a person can expect to live without a limiting chronic illness or disability, and what this measure tells us about inequalities in health across England.
First, we will look at disability-free life expectancy across areas experiencing differing levels of deprivation. Deprivation here is defined by the index of multiple deprivation that scores small geographical areas according to income, education, access to services, crime, and other important socially relevant factors. For this study, we have divided England into fifths of relative deprivation. Disability-free life expectancy declines in a linear fashion with increasing deprivation, such that those in the least deprived areas can expect to spend the longest periods of time free from a limiting chronic illness or disability, while those in the most deprived areas will spend the shortest amount of time disability-free. So, how great is this inequality? If we look at men aged 16, those living in the least deprived areas can expect 54 years free from a limiting chronic illness or disability. At the other end of the scale, for men in the most deprived areas, disability-free life expectancy at age 16 is just 40.8 years. For women at age 16, the figures are 54.6 years in the least deprived areas and 42 years in the most deprived areas.
Now we will look at disability-free life expectancy across different geographical areas starting with English regions. In this map, we will shade the regions of England according to disability-free life expectancy, where the lightest shades represent the highest estimates and the darkest shade the lowest estimates. Firstly, looking at men at age 16, you can see that the lowest estimates of disability-free life expectancy are in the north of England and the highest estimates are in the south. Men in the northeast have the lowest disability-free life expectancy at 44.2 years, and estimates are highest in the southeast at 51.3 years. So there is a little over 7 years of life spent free from a limited chronic illness or disability, separating the northeast from the southeast. The picture is similar for women. Disability-free life expectancy is lowest in the northeast at 45.2 years, and highest in the southeast at 51.8 years. The inequality in disability-free life expectancy for women between these regions is around 6.5 years.
Next, we will look at disability-free life expectancy at the lower geographical scale of local area district, where the inequalities are starker than at regional levels or by deprivation. Firstly, looking at men at age 16, again the lighter areas represent higher estimates of disability-free life expectancy, and the darker areas represent lower estimates. You can see that although most of the lowest estimates of disability-free life expectancy appear in the north of the country, there are areas of low estimates across the whole of England. Similarly, while the south tends to have a greater number of areas with high estimates of disability-free life expectancy, there are also these areas in the north of the country. The lowest figure for disability-free life expectancy for men is in Barnsley at 41.2 years, and the highest is in Surrey Heath at 56.8 years. An inequality of more than 15.5 years. Now, looking at women, a similar pattern emerges with an apparent north-south divide, but with pockets of high and low disability-free life expectancy in each region. For women, the lowest estimate of disability-free life expectancy is in Knowsley at 41.7 years, and the highest estimate is in Tandridge at 60.2 years. The level of inequality for women is therefore greater even than for men at 18.5 years.